Hi everyone, I would like to introduce my husband, Julio, aka Jito. That's what I call him. This video is going to be long, so I suggest you get comfortable. Me and him are going to tell you Isaac's story. Our son Isaac passed away a year ago today, January 6, 2015. And we've been wanting to say this story. It's just been really hard for us to record and get it out there. A lot of you who follow me on social media have been following us since I got pregnant, and we truly appreciate it, and we just think it's time to finally say his story. And it might not be perfect. This video is going to be super raw. I'm probably not even going to edit it or anything, so bear with us. This is us. This is how we are. We're just going to talk to you as if you were right in front of us, like you are, because obviously you're watching us right now. But yeah, just bear with us, like I said, because there might be even moments where we'll cry. Who knows? We'll see how this goes, but we definitely want to get his story out there to you all who've already been following us. So yeah.
I don't know how to start.
I can't believe this. Alright. Why do I feel like you're fake laughing? Okay. Alright, so me and Jito got together in high school when we were 16. We were friends while I was 15. The first time I seen him, I was 14. But fate brought us together because he ended up in my class. When I was 16, we officially had gotten together. And we've been together ever since. Obviously we had our ups and downs, but we've always had a relationship with our relationship has been a faith-based relationship. Like,
We always kept God in our relationship.
yes, like we were both into having faith, you know, believing in God,
Believing everything happens for a reason.
Exactly. Like, that's how he ended up in my class, and we got together. We have a good relationship because of that. I think we have a great relationship because of that. And we got married in 2009. And ever since we got married, we were trying to have a baby. However, it wasn't really working out for us. After we tried and tried and tried,
Nothing.
yeah, and we stopped trying, and we were just like, okay, if it happens, it happens. And that lasted too long for us. It was like still a couple years later and still no baby. So in the beginning of 2014, me and him decided that I was going to start getting checked. And if everything was alright with me, he was going to get checked. All that started like in January, and it was all the way up to like July. And all my tests came back good. Like, there was nothing wrong with me. So in our my last test, that same day, we went to a different doctor so he can start getting checked. My whole thing for that, you know, everything that we were going through at that time with trying to get pregnant and getting tested, well, me getting tested for a lot of different things, my thing was, and what I kept telling him and what we kept telling each other was, it doesn't matter what you think, what you see, or what you hear, God is in control. So when he got tested, supposedly, the doctors were saying supposedly, and I say supposedly because of what I'm going to say in a little bit, but they were trying to say that something was kind of wrong with him. And he was very upset.
Yeah, when they told me that it was a little bit of chance of me being a father, it killed me. I lost completely faith. You know, I got depressed. I got stressed out. You know, but I still always got on my knees and prayed. And I said, you know what, God, you're in control. You're the doctor.
Yep.
So I went the second time, and they wanted to compare the tests. And my wife got a call.
Yeah. I got. Go ahead.
Good.
I got a phone call. Like, that day I was, like, stressed out. And I would never show him that I was, like, about to lose hope. Because I felt like I had to be strong for him. I had to remind him, it's not what you see, it's not what you hear, it's not what they say. It's not what's going on. God is in control. God is in control. So that day that I got a phone call, that when they said that they wanted to compare and all this stuff, like, I couldn't believe it, but I was also upset. So while I was crying out to God and I was praying, something told me to take the test, which I had a pregnancy test in our nightstand. So I'm here crying out and everything. All of a sudden I just heard that and I got, like, serious, and I was like, you know what? I want to take the test. So I go and take the test, and to my surprise, I seen a plus sign, a faint plus sign, and I was shocked. But at the same time, I was super happy, and I remember looking at it and saying, thank you, God, I'm gonna have my boy, my little boy. And I wanted to surprise him, so I didn't tell him. I went through the motions by myself, like, you know, when you're trying to get pregnant after a long time and you're in shock, then you go and you take more pregnancy tests. Well, that's what I did. And I did surprise him at his mother's house, and his mother got to record it. And I would love to show you. Unfortunately, for some reason, the video got deleted, and my mother-in-law did not delete it. No one deleted it. It just happened. But everything happens for a reason, right? So when I told him, we were super happy together now, like, you know, and it was that moment where you're like, wow, you know, I knew it. We just got to believe in God. We have to trust in God. We have to continue having faith, and everything is going to be okay. And our whole family was extremely happy.
And remember also, when you showed me the tests, I thought they were fake. I thought it was a trick on me. I thought the joke was on me at first. I said, are you lying to me?
Yeah. I forgot about that.
But she wasn't lying. Yep. And at that moment, I felt the only peace touch my heart when that happened.
And we started going to the appointments and stuff, and everything was always great. The baby was growing beautifully. The doctors always had some beautiful thing to say. Actually, the first doctor, after she seen the ultrasound, she called the baby a champ. And I always wondered, like, does she know that it was a boy? Because she called him champ. And you don't really call a girl champ. So I was just like, I don't know, I was happy because my dad's a boxing trainer, so champion and anything that has to do with that, like, that touches me because that runs in my blood. So we were all super duper happy. I would always post on Facebook, like, every week I would post the week that I was in. Once in a blue I would post pictures, you know, because we were super happy. Like, just think about it, high school sweethearts finally get to have a baby. And then our last appointment, which I was 20 weeks, we were having a gender reveal, so we went to go see how the baby's organs were growing and all that good stuff, and if it was a boy or girl. But we didn't see if it was a boy or girl.
Only our parents did.
Yeah, our parents, they were there, they seen, and they recorded it. And then that Saturday we had a gender reveal party, and it was super fun and perfect because our moms, like, surprised the heck out of us. The way they did it was, like, so perfect. That video I am definitely gonna post, so when you're done with this video you can go ahead and see that video. But it was just perfect. Like, everything was perfect. Happiness, like, the baby's health, everything. It just felt so good. But then at 24 weeks and a half, which I went in on the 15th of December in 14.
Mm-hmm.
I went in because I had high blood pressure and I was swollen, and I know that those are signs of preeclampsia. So I went to the hospital because I talked to a doctor on the phone prior to that, and he sent me to the hospital. So I went to the hospital, and still, we were super excited. We didn't think like anything bad was gonna happen, though we were a little worried. You know, like how we are. We keep God first, and we know God is in control, so everything's gonna be okay, and we're very faithful. So then, I had him at 24 weeks and 6 days. On December 17th, 2014.
And that day was the most hardest day of our lives, because I couldn't remember the night of December 17th. I heard her. I was sleeping next to her on the couch while we were at the hospital, and I heard her voice like screaming, but
Yeah,
far away.
Because it was late, and I had used the restroom, and I had prayed in the restroom because I felt like, you know, I had said, God, you know, if you want me to have this baby, it's your will. I can't do nothing about it, but I just hope that you prepare me for it and everything's okay. So I go lay back on the bed. I'm there just a couple seconds, and all of a sudden, I'm gushing blood like a faucet. Like if you were turning a faucet on all the way and all the water comes out and then you're turning it off. But like, if you could like play with it, you know how the water comes out like that? Well, that's how I was bleeding. I was bleeding a lot, and I called his name. He didn't wake up the first time, so I called the nurse, and then I kept calling him, and he woke up. And then...
So then when she told me, she's like, babe, I'm bleeding. I freaked out. So what do you mean? So I checked her, and sure enough, she was bleeding a lot. The nurse comes in, and, you know, she calls the other doctors and nurses and everything. So they start putting her on the machine, and the doctor's like, oh yeah, I do see some blood. And I said, no, she's bleeding a lot. So at that point, you know, all the doctors ran in. They came in with ultrasound machine, checked the baby. The baby was fine. But in a split second, they seen that there was a lot of blood inside her bladder. And it was, you know, she was losing too much blood. So at that point, you know, I was shaking. It was just us two. We didn't know what was going to happen. And in my head, I thought I was going to lose both of them. And the doctors took her away. They said, no, we have to do emergency C-section. We have to deliver you. And at that point, it's like everything just stopped. Like it felt everything was in slow motion. You know, it felt like it wasn't real. So they take her, and I wanted to go with her. They said, Dad, you can't go. You can't go.
Yeah, because with emergency C-sections, if you don't know, it's an emergency. So they don't have time to prep anyone. And you know, for surgery, you have to be prepped. Anyone who's going to be in the room, because it's a surgery, they're going to open you up. So he couldn't come in with me, and I was by myself. And surprisingly enough, I wasn't freaking out. I was just concerned more about him than even the baby. I just felt like me and the baby were going to be fine. The way he seen everything and the way he looked, I just felt like, you know, I hope he's okay and he's not freaking out too much. So I was getting this, you know, getting the C-section. And I stood calm and faithful. And I could like feel like peaceful. Like I was at peace. They took out my son, and he was still in the sack, so I didn't hear him. And I had to ask them, because it was a while, and I had to ask them, you know, is my son okay? Did you take him out? And then the doctor was like, yeah, he's okay, and we already took him out. And then she started stitching me up, and, you know, we're finishing that. I got to see my son from afar, and I wear contacts and glasses, so I didn't really get to see him, but I got to see like the silhouette and the blurriness, but I did get to see when they rolled him next to me. but again, from afar. He wasn't next to me like a regular C-section where they bring the baby to you and you get to have time with your baby. It was so
They had to
quick.
rush him.
Yeah, they had to rush him into NICU and everything to... At that point, I didn't know, but they had to resuscitate him and everything, and he got to see them. Well, he got to see him when they rolled him out.
So as she was in the labor room, I was waiting out in the hallway with at that point our parents got there, and I remember the nurse telling me, your son's on his way. So as I stand in the hallway of the hospital, I see the group of nurses with the incubator, you know, coming down, and it felt like when I seen them turn the corner with the baby, I felt like if they were angels, you know. Not many of you would think that way, but it just felt that way. And
like a movie,
like a movie, exactly. Slow-mo. And then the doctors, you know, the nurse stopped and she goes, "Here goes your baby boy. Look at him." And I looked at Isaac and I was like, "Wow, he's handsome." And I did get to give him a kiss in the head. And they said, "We'll meet you guys. We'll meet you up in NICU. We have to rush him up there. We have to run tests on him." So at that point, I went upstairs. I didn't, you know, Beba was, you know, she was in recovery room. The family went and took care of her. I went right upstairs to NICU. And
yeah, because he was the one who always took cared, I think that's the word. Sorry, but he was the one who handled like the doctors and the medical stuff. After the recovery room, and when I went to my room, I was supposed to rest, but I just stood up because I wanted to see the baby. I wanted to see all the pictures that they were able to take. I wanted to know what was going on and when I was going to be able to see the baby. So, this one doctor, the second doctor the baby had, because the first one...
Well, the first one, when I walked in the NICU, I seen my son, and he was laying in there. He's real tiny. And I asked the doctors, you know, what's going on with him? Is he gonna be okay? And the doctor was there, the doctor to check him, and she comes up to me, and I'm with my father-in-law, and she tells me, I asked her, is he gonna be okay? And she said, that right now he's not responding. What's keeping him going are the machines. He's not breathing on his own. And then she explained to me at that moment that they had to resuscitate him. He lost oxygen in the period of time from getting her prepped for the C-section. He had lost oxygen, so they resuscitated him. And she told me that they gave him the 72 hours to see if he responds, but that the chances of him surviving were slim. And at that moment, I felt like everything dropped. Like I felt like everything was like froze, and it was just me. And I wanted to scream. And I looked over to my son, and I told him, I said, "Don't worry, Bobby. Daddy loves you. And mommy loves you. Mommy and daddy gonna be here."
So, while all that was happening, again, I was in the recovery room, and then when I finally went to the room, he came, and he hadn't told me that. Nobody told me what was going on. The second doctor that started attending him, because my husband didn't want the first doctor to attend our baby, because the way she told him wasn't the nice way he just said. She was actually very extremely rude and very negative. I mean, I know doctors are all about science, and we know that and we respect that, but we also know that they're doctors who are very empathetic and know how to deliver a news, especially as serious as that one was, to a patient or the parents, which, you know, in this case, Isaac was the patient and, you know, my son was his father, so of course he had to talk to him. And after everything that was going on, the way she said it wasn't so nice, like my husband said. So my husband told the nurses that he didn't want that doctor with my son. So they assigned him a different doctors, which this doctor was absolutely amazing. And that doctor came into my room before I went to go see my son. He had to explain to me what was going on. So he's here explaining to me, you know, that my son is in a coma at the time. And they don't know if he's going to survive the first 48 or 24 hours?
48 hours, 40 hours.
Came to me. Okay, well, he's talking to me and I'm trying to absorb everything, but at the same time in my head I'm like, no, my son is okay. I need to go see my son.
She said, when can I see my son? I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, he was looking at me like waiting, like pause, like, okay, when was I going to react and start crying? And I mean, everybody was. I think the only one who knew that my mind was not ready to cry or even going to cry was my mom. Like, she just knew, like, what was going through my head, and she knew, like, I was strong. Like, I don't know, I knew my son was going to be okay. I just needed to go see him, that's all, because every time he heard my voice, he would always move. Every day, my son moved in my stomach, all the time. He always made, like, I told him to move for me so I know he's okay. So I knew all I had to do was, you know, go see him. So he's talking to me, waiting for me to lose it. And instead, you know, he asked, so do you have any questions? I said, no. Not anything like that, but when can I go see my son? And he looked at me like, okay. I just had to wait for my nurse or the doctor to come see me real quick to make sure that I can actually go. So I went to go see him, and I walked up to the incubator, and I can't.